The bacteria all over our body plays an incredible role in our overall health. Most people don't know this, but you are covered with bacteria on your skin, in your mucous membranes, in your intestines, and this bacteria plays an enormous role. Anything from helping you digest your food to helping you balance your hormones to keeping your brain healthy. Now, a lot of people just have this idea that bacteria is everything bad and that you just don't want bacteria anywhere. But like I said before, if bacteria is no longer existing on our bodies, you'll likely be dead. A healthy microbiome builds a strong immune system, okay? And I want to talk about mostly here how our immune system is under constant assault with the precautionary measures that most people are taking in order to protect themselves from COVID-19. Could the beneficial bacteria living inside of us help fight COVID-19? Now, in the past 2 decades, scientists have learned our bodies are home to more bacterial cells than human cells, which is really fascinating because I've always kept up with the science all the way through. The community of bacteria that lives in and on us, called the microbiome, resembles a company, with each microbe species performing specialized jobs, but all working to keep us healthy. In the gut, the bacteria balance the immune system response against pathogens. A lot of people don't know this, but like if you're having a huge immune problem in your body, in many cases is related to your gut health because that's where a lot of this microbiome is located. And a healthy gut typically equals a healthy immune system. And of course, vice versa. If you have an autoimmunity condition, likely you have an unhealthy gut. These bacteria ensure that the immune response is effective, but not so violent that it causes collateral damage to the host. Bacteria in our gut can elicit an effective immune response against viruses that not only infect the gut, such as the norovirus or the rotavirus, but also those infecting the lungs, such as the flu virus. The beneficial gut microbes do this by ordering specialized immune cells to produce potent antiviral proteins and ultimately eliminate viral infections. In the body of the person lacking these beneficial gut bacteria won't have as strong of an immune system response to invading viruses. As a result, infections might go unchecked, taking a toll on your health. Okay, so this is a big problem. All right, so we just basically went in and talked about how important this microbiome is. Well, you know what kills the microbiome is putting hand sanitizer on yourself every 20 minutes like people are doing these days. I know that in the kids' schools and just a lot of people in general just walking around with hand sanitizers. And it crushes your microbiome, making your immune system weaker and also going in and just basically allowing you to be more susceptible to all these different viruses and actual infections that could come and take a toll on your body. Now, the FDA came out a while ago and had said that this is a dangerous practice because when you go to grocery stores, people were putting hand sanitizers everywhere. It became something so common, like we just can't protect ourselves enough. Like, don't get me wrong, cleanliness is incredibly important. And we live in such a good place today compared to where we used to many years ago, where, we didn't have refrigeration and we didn't have proper sanitization and we didn't have proper waste facilities for using the restroom. And this is where people were becoming extraordinarily sick. But in general, we live a pretty clean life today, but we have to be careful not to live too clean because it actually can work against us. I was talking to I'm trying to think of what his degree is. It slipped my mind. But anyway, I was talking to this guy and he runs this huge lab. And he basically was talking to me about this exact topic. And it was interesting because I said, I felt like we were coming so far ahead with, getting away from these hand sanitizers and understanding that they're actually bad for you. And now we're just going backwards. And his response was, you know what? I believe that people, with what they're doing right now, using all these antimicrobial wipes and antivirals and everything else, that we are going to put ourselves in a very bad place with our health, and it's going to take an enormous toll on the population. Now, this is somebody who actually has patents on different bacterial strains because he's actually been identifying them and actually learning how he could grow them so that you can take like a probiotic, for instance, that gives you these different strains that promote whether it's weight loss or fighting bacterial infections or something like COVID right off. He's identifying them, he's putting patents on them, and he's doing incredible work in the world of helping you increase your overall microbiome and strengthen it. So how do resistant bacteria keep you healthy? Our immune defense is part of a complex biological response against harmful pathogens such as viruses and bacteria. However, because our bodies are inhabited by trillions of mostly beneficial bacteria, viruses, and fungi, and that's another thing people don't realize is that, like, when you start talking about testing for some of these different viruses, I mean, there's viruses and bacteria occurring in our body at any given time. Activation of our immune response is tightly regulated to distinguish between harmful and helpful microbes. It's always one of these things where, like I said, people think that, okay, well, if we have bacteria in our body, it's all beneficial. No, we actually have negative bacteria on our body, harmful bacteria on our body as well. And it's typically like a 85% healthy, good bacteria and like a 15% bad, okay? And a lot of times you hear people explain it like this, like, well, if we had police officers and there was no crime, they would be really lazy. Okay, so having a little bit of crime for police officers keep them on their toes, keep them active, keep them from just like falling asleep on the shift, right? Whereas like the same thing with the bacteria, we have the good bacteria, which is kind of policing everything, and it has that bad bacteria that just kind of keeps it engaged and makes sure that it keeps the immune system functioning well, and so it just keeps balance overall in the body. And so it's always good to have a little bit of, bacteria that's not so beneficial as well. Our bacteria are spectacular companions, diligently helping prime our immune system defense to combat infections. A seminal study found that mice treated with antibiotics that eliminate bacteria in the gut exhibited an impaired immune system. This is an important piece right here because so many people run and get antibiotics as soon as something goes wrong with their health, and guess what? It impairs your health further. So if you get the flu and you get antibiotics, boom, you get a health impairment. And the problem is too is that most people don't know this, but if you take an antibiotic, you also want to take a probiotic that's a huge heavy dose for a couple weeks after, because the reason for that is that if you don't do that, you basically just wipe out the bacteria, and you can have stomach issues for many years to come. You can have immune issues for many years to come. You can have some pretty negative side effects from that. In fact, I was on antibiotics probably for 15 years of my life because I always got ear infections as a child, and I basically relate that exact problem to all the different gut issues that I have faced as an adult. These animals had low counts of virus-fighting white blood cells, weak antibody responses, a poor production of a protein that is vital for combating viral infections and modulating the immune response. I mean, it's incredible, In another study, mice were fed lactobacillus bacteria, commonly used as a probiotic in fermented food. Fermented food is incredible for helping you get lots of good bacteria, probiotics into your system, making things like right in the comfort of your home for very cheap: kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha. These things are all really great. You can also buy them in the store. These microbes reduce the severity of the influenza infection. The lactobacillus treated mice didn't lose weight and didn't lose weight. I had to make sure that I was correct there because there's been a bunch of studies where they literally just go and have a mouse that's fat, and then they give it this bacteria, and all of a sudden, just by giving the mouse the certain strain of bacteria and not changing its diet at all, the mouse loses weight. So I didn't want to confuse that. So the mouse didn't lose weight and had only mild lung damage compared to the untreated mice. Similarly, others have found that treatment of mice with lactobacillus protects against different subtypes of influenza virus and human respiratory syncytial viruses, the major cause of the viral brachiolitis and pneumonia in children. Okay, so chronic disease and microbes. This article goes on to talk about how basically, you can have people who have problems like type 2 diabetes and obesity and cardiovascular diseases, and basically what they have found is that there are microbes associated, like let's say the lack of having certain microbes associated with these different diseases. They also go on to talk about how these microbes can protect you from COVID-19 and how it's actually very important to make sure that you have the proper microbes in your system in order to protect you properly, okay? So I want to leave you with a couple things here. First of all, eating fermented foods is good. Overusing the antimicrobial wipes and also the hand sanitizers is not good, okay? So under no circumstances is this considered healthy, and there definitely will be health consequences of all the people who are just lathering up in them constantly. You know, there was these different football stadiums where they're having the players run through like a sprayer that killed off viruses and bacteria on their body before they entered the field. It's like, oh my gosh, the devastating health consequences this will have on people. The other thing you can do is take probiotics. I'll put in the description below some of the probiotics that I use, which come from our sponsor. So definitely, in order to support the channel, check them out. I would appreciate that. And make sure that you're getting the proper microbial balance in your body, because let me tell you, if your microbiome is suffering, your whole entire body is suffering. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and check out some of our other videos on the channel.